Hey guys, it's Medicosis Perfectionalis. This is the 5th video in my series on rheumatology. In the previous video, we have discussed how to take a good history. Today, let's talk about examining the patient. Let's roll up our sleeves and let's bring up the intro. These are the first 4 videos. Make sure to save my playlist. It's called Rheumatology. As you know, rheumatology is a puzzle. No single blood test confirms the diagnosis. Just because you have positive ANA doesn't mean you have lupus. You need the whole thing, the whole puzzle, every piece. The test has to fit with the patient's history and physical exam. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. It's called pattern recognition. In order to understand what rheumatology is, we divide diseases into non-inflammatory and inflammatory. Non-inflammatory, there is no actual inflammation. Inflammatory, there is an inflammation, which means redness, hotness, swelling, pain, loss of function, which means lots of white blood cells, such as rheumatoid, lupus, seronegative spondyloarthropathies, gout, Sjogren, septic arthritis, such as gonococcal arthritis. The clinical encounter consists of: first, introduction or greetings. Hey, how are you? What's up? What do you do for a living? If the patient said, well, he's unemployed, go ahead and skip it. Go to the next question. Then we have the history. Physical exam. We have general physical exam and the specific. Specific means like we're examining only cardiology. So only we're listening to the heart and lungs and stuff like that. Or like rheumatology, the joints. But in rheumatology, we have to examine other systems as well because they are multi-systemic diseases. And then the conclusion. You give the patient a provisional diagnosis. Based on the history and the physical exam, I think that you may have like rheumatoid, or it could be Sjogren syndrome. We need to run some labs and probably you'll see. And explain the next step. We'll run some labs. I'll aspire the joint or whatever. And do you have any questions, sir? Do you have any concerns? Do you want to tell me anything? Anything. You can tell me anything. First, let's start with the general physical exam. First, the overall appearance. Does the patient look well or ill? Neglected, disheveled? Probably if he's like depressed or sad or had normal bereavement syndrome or stuff like that. How is the mood? Is he happy? Is she depressed? Then, brain function. AAO times 3. A for awakeness. Is he awake or sleeping? This is important. Arousal. Is he alert? Arousal is a brain stem function. Has nothing to do with the higher functions. It's only in the brain stem or the reticular activating system. Orientation is a cortical function. Orientation has 3 aspects. Oriented to person, who am I? Oriented to place, where are we? Don't just say in a hospital, because probably like you have a stethoscope on you, so if the patient says, oh yeah, I think we're like there's a nurse here and there is like a doctor with a stethoscope here and there is like a blood pressure cuff. We're probably in the hospital and there's like an EKG monitor. This is not enough. What floor are we in? Which hospital is that? Those things matter. If the patient says, we're in the kitchen, we have a problem. Let me ask you a very important question. What if the patient opens her eyes, but she's not oriented? It means that her brainstem is normal. She has a problem in the cortex because she is aroused, she's opening her eyes, but she's not oriented. Brainstem is normal, cortex has problems. Then look at the skin. But first, let me remind you of that many mental status exams. In some patients, you should do it to every patient, but like we don't have time, so use your judgment, use your dadgum mind. And if the patient needs an MMSE, do it. It's not hard, but you have to learn it. Skin, color of the skin, cyanosis, jaundice, etc. Lesions, spider nevi, purple stria, etc. Body weight, does the patient look thin? Does the patient look average, obese? Edema, swelling. Where's the swelling? Around the eyelids? The ankle? It depends. Facies, special features on the face. Chipmunk facies, such as beta thalassemia, elfin, Cushingoid, Marfanoid, Down syndrome-like. Today we call it flat facies. Mask-like, which is Parkinson's disease. Body hair, hirsutism. What's the difference between hirsutism and virilization? Hirsutism is just hair. Virilization is like male-like symptoms, testosterone-driven symptoms. So not only hair, but also like harsh voice, skin changes, hormonal changes, etc. Endocrinal stigmata. So sometimes you'll see like a syndrome in many different aspects. For example, Cushing syndrome. You'll see the moon-like faces, buffalo hump, thin extremities, and fat belly. When the patient just enters the room, you should be able to know Cushing's because it's very easy. But we are not with the physical exam. I'm just taking the history. It doesn't matter. You're a doctor. You're not a machine. Think. Use your brain. Body weight. Now this time, you just thin, obese, etc. Now let's do the BMI and the vital signs. Blood pressure, pulse, respiratory rate, temperature, and for surgical patients or ICU patients, urine output is the 5th vital sign. This is very important. Pulse. Don't say heart rate because pulse includes rate, rhythm, character, volume, and other stuff like force and tension, etc. Also equality. Is it equal on the right arm and the left arm? Physical exam for internal medicine. Generally speaking, you start with the general assessment, then the specific. Let's specify a system. Let's say the heart. Inspection, you just look. Palpation, you feel. Percussion, which is not done in cardiology anymore, but it's here. We're talking generally, guys. Auscultation, you use your stethoscope. My advice to any doctor, don't be an ideologue, become a pragmatic. Ideologue is somebody who has his mind stuck. I have to do the history first. Then I'll do the physical exam then. After this, I'll order some labs. This is nonsense because sometimes you can, like the nurse or the medical assistant can do all of the vital signs even before the patient enters your room. So this saves time. The vital signs are part of the physical exam, but you can do it before the history. That's totally fine. Use your mind. Also, let's say that you are examining like a pelvic exam. You examine the pelvis, you notice something. Let's take a swab, okay? But swab is part of the lab and the pelvic exam is part of the physical. It doesn't matter. Do it together because the patient, you give her like 5 minutes to undress. Then you enter the room again. And after this, 5 minutes to dress. Like after this, okay, I think you have a problem. Let's do some pelvic swab. Will I do this again? I was just undressed. You stupid idiot. This is how lawyers make their big bucks on malpractice because many doctors are foolish. Physical exam in internal medicine versus physical exam in rheumatology. Internal medicine, you start with general. Same thing here, we will start with general, but we have extra stuff called general assessment. GALS, G-A-L-S, gait, arms, legs, and spine. Because sometimes you will have a patient complaining of, I have a pain in my finger, okay? It hurts, like my little finger hurts like mad, especially this like distal part of it. Why should I examine the spine? Because this may be ankylosing spondylitis. The patient will have pain in the distal interphalangeal joint as well as kyphosis and scoliosis. So if you didn't examine the spine, you will miss it. Let's say it's winter and the patient is coming with a heavy jacket on him and you couldn't identify the scoliosis. You're an idiot. Examine the spine no matter what. Then look is the same here. You just look. Palpation, you feel. Here in rheumatology, we have lots of stuff to do. First you feel. Then the pulse. This is very important because in some diseases such as compartment syndrome, you can have a rheumatological problem leading to absent pulse. And absent pulse is never fun. It could be an emergency. Then sensory stuff. Sharp sensation, dull sensation, vibration sensation. Motor. We have passive range of motion. You may move the patient's arm. You move it up, you move it down, you move it in all directions. What are we looking for here? Pain. Not the ability of the patient to perform the movement because you are performing the movement yourself. It doesn't matter. We're looking for the pain. About the other one, active range of motion. You ask the patient to move his or her arm. We are looking for the ability of the patient to perform the movement. Those are two distinct things. Then percussion. Do we need percussion in rheumatology? Yes, indeed. You do. You can use it for the knee if you have like fluid around the knee. And there is another amazing test called patellar pubic percussion test. We use percussion and auscultation at the same time, called osteophony. We put the stethoscope on the symphysis pubis, believe it or not, and we hear vibrations. It's a crazy test. So when your professor say, we never use auscultation in rheumatology, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So in rheumatology, we need the history and the physical exam. Of what? Of the system of complaint and other body system. Why? Because we're looking for extra articular manifestations. So, but if you have osteoarthritis, it's a mechanical problem. A joint exam only should suffice. You can examine other organs or other systems to rule out other diseases. This is fine as well. But in rheumatoid arthritis, you examine the joints, the eyes for uveitis and scleritis, the skin, the cervical spine for atlantoaxial subluxation, carpal tunnel syndrome, the heart, the back of the knee for Baker's cyst. It's lupus, and if you watch Dr. House, it's always lupus. You examine the joints, the face. Why? For the malar rash, which is butterfly-like, and the discoid rash, the buccal mucosa because of oral ulcers. Heart, you can have pancarditis, you can have myocarditis, you can have endocarditis, and you can have pericarditis. Kidney, yep, lupus nephritis. Photosensitivity, you ask the patient, does the sunlight hurt? Neuro examination and neurological questions. OBGYN, have you ever had miscarriages before? Clots and pancytopenia. If it's gout, examine the joints, especially the big toe, and the skin for tophi. Where do we find the tophi in chronic gout? Earlobe, Achilles tendon, and others. If you suspect gonococcal arthritis, because this young teenage girl had sex with 62 partners like a week ago, and now she's having knee problems, you should do a genitourinary assessment, pelvic exam with swab. But I'm not a gynecologist. Shut up, you're a doctor. You can do it. Otherwise, it's never late to change careers. You can teach math. Some special tests. Rheumatology has lots of special tests. We use the Flankenstein test for Duchenne tenosynovitis. The guy was French. We have Duchenne tenosynovitis and another disease by the name Duchenne. Do you know it? Duchenne thyroiditis, which is subacute thyroiditis. Tinel test and Phelan test for carpal tunnel syndrome of the median nerve. Cousins test, cause of playing tennis. Cause I'm playing tennis, use the cousin test. Lateral epicondylitis, also known as tennis elbow. The mnemonic, cousin test, cause I'm playing tennis. The shoulder, the empty can test and the full can test for supraspinatus, which is one of the rotator cuff muscles. Then apprehension test for anterior shoulder dislocation, which is very common. This is one of the most commonly dislocated joints in your body. Sulcus sign, posterior shoulder dislocation. O'Brien's test for the slap tear. What's the slap? Superior labral tear, also known as glenoid labrum. For the spine, if it's the cervical spine, we have the Sperling's test and the Lermite test. What are you looking for? In Sperling's, I'm looking for radiculopathy. What the flip is radiculopathy. Okay, here is the nice vertebral column, and the nerves are exiting from the spinal cord like this. If you have a problem with the nerve in the peripherally, we call this peripheral neuritis or neuropathy. If you have a problem with the nerve at the root, we call this radiculopathy. So there is a huge difference between radiculopathy and neuropathy. Don't confuse the two. For the thoracolumbar spine, there is the Schober's test for ankylosing spondylitis and kyphosis, and the straight leg raise test for lumbar disc herniation, also known as the dreaded sciatica. Hip joint, we have the Thomas test for fixed flexion deformity, the Faber test, which is an acronym for sacroiliac problems, Tillendenberg test for superior gluteal nerve injury, which will injure or which will have a defective gluteus medius and gluteus minimus muscles. Shortening of the hip. One leg is shorter than the other, believe it or not. Hip fracture, don't ever miss that. Knee. anterior drawer test for anterior cruciate ligament. The posterior one for posterior cruciate ligament. Sorry guys, I screwed up. The varus is for the lateral and the valgus is for the medial. Then the McMurray's test for the meniscus, we have two. We have the medial and the lateral menisci. We have two McMurray's test for them. And there's a stupid test called the Schirmer test for Sjogren syndrome. You will never confirm Sjogren syndrome with this crazy test, but ophthalmologists just love this test. They measure the quantity of the tears because they are so miserable. Gonorrhea can cause septic arthritis, but chlamydia does not cause septic arthritis. Chlamydia sometimes can cause reactive arthritis, although this is rare. Septic arthritis, the typical patient is a young woman in her teens, like a young girl. Chlamydia, reactive arthritis, typical patient is a young man in his 20s. Teens, 20s. Woman, man. In the United States, chlamydia is commoner than gonorrhea, like way more common. For either one, chlamydia or gonorrhea, we treat for both of them at the same time, and we treat both partners. And we are done. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing and support this channel on Patreon. You can get all of my notes. I have like 60 plus notes on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/medicosis and I'll give you my Dropbox links. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, be safe, stay happy, and study hard. This is Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense.